I'm Charles Martinet, and you're not. That's rather obvious. And now it's time for Runner3.
Hey everybody, Evan here, and John has tasked me with checking out yet another game. Now this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge for me. The last one was a fighting game, I'm kind of into that. This, not so much. So the challenge here is going to be to stay objective. I have to kind of look at this from someone else's perspective, someone who would be looking for this game, I guess. It's sort of rhythmic, it's sort of platformy. It has a lot of potential to it as a sort of niche game kind of blended in those markets. But what is Runner3? I mean, some of you have probably heard of any of the classics, Bit Trip Runner, or anything along those lines. And this is the continuation of that and the first iteration of it on the Switch. Now maybe you've never heard of the Runner series, so what do I mean by rhythmic? It obviously looks like a platformer. Well, for one, I'm not controlling the speed at which this guy actually moves across the screen, so I have to kind of set the pace for when I'm going to jump, slide, kick through things, the decisions I'm going to make as I go as to what levels I want to get to or what path I want to take. Those actually change up. Early on, they don't give you access to everything. It kind of gets boring. It had that feeling for me like you're late night driving in a car and you're just trying to stay awake. But as it gets further in, I did start to notice that, yes, the decision making kind of made it interesting for me. Do I go for that item? Do I go for the gem path? Or do I just stick to the gold bar path? It's pretty interesting. I mean, it lends itself to a sort of middle ground between liking games where you're supposed to get from one side of the map to the other without getting lost or without getting any kind of hang-ups, having to look for collectibles or something specific, because you are going to get to the end in X amount of time. You have no other option other than just perpetually dying over and over again, which, unless you're used to games like these, you probably will do. So not unlike picking certain notes and combinations in Guitar Hero at certain points in time, you have to decide, do I jump here to get this gold bar? What do I do as a follow-up? I guess I have to drop down, slide under this box here to try to get to the next part without dying. That's all very important for the rhythm of the game. Now, it doesn't help that the music being played in the background is pretty consistent throughout the levels they have set up. I think there was only really 2 different songs I noticed in the food world, and it does change in the next zone, so I'm guessing per zone it gets a little different. There's also boss fights as well in this game, which they're interesting enough. I mean, it's nothing too outlandish, too extravagant. You kind of easily figure it out, and you just have to deal with what it's doing. And that's basic. But the boss fights are there, and they tend to lay into the brand of the game's humor. It tries to present you this world that's kind of outlandish. What are these things you're looking at? Why does this sausage have a face and a little pipe in its mouth? Like, what's going on here? But that's the world aesthetic. Like it or not, it's what they're giving you. It, at times, can seem visually confusing or cluttered. Occasionally, they'll hit you with something new you've never seen before, like a flying ball of something coming at you. How do you deal with it? Oh, you can duck under. If you have double jump, you can go over it. You have to determine these things by simply playing it through. At some point, the game becomes less of an interesting, I guess, forward momentum game as much as a game of Simon Says. Here's where I jump, here's where I slide, here's where I double jump, here's where I hold the second jump on the double jump to glide down. You have to kind of get this rhythm going. And it doesn't exactly tell you everything. It, I guess, sort of hopes you either know a little bit or, I mean, maybe have read something about it. I tend not to do that with games like this. So since part of it is about getting a high score, you do get to focus a little bit on trying to maximize how many points you get. You, of course, get these by surpassing all the different obstacles, but you can also make your character dance at certain points in time during the run to try to increase your points even further. Now that tends to be a little bit interesting because you're kind of stuck in those frames. You have to know how to pace it to try to maximize that. I imagine the leaderboards are a little bit of a pretty serious rush to see who's actually going to be able to get that to the highest possibility. And I kind of like that about this. Leaderboard games, they don't exist as much as they used to. They definitely don't have as much emphasis in gaming. So to see it here, to try to generate a system where getting the most points can actually be interesting, I like it. I like what they did with this. And in my short time playing it, to try to get this info out to you guys before the release, I did notice a couple other cool things, running into things called hero quests, trying to find objects for creatures to then give back to them. It has a kind of pseudo RPG element to it. I mean, it's not major. You don't really have to care about it as much. It's just for fun unlocks and interesting things. Speaking of which, there is an in-game store. You can get certain types of currency through simply playing harder versions of levels and then coming back and being like, all right, we got these items now. Now we can figure this out, and I can buy these really cool like rainbow effects behind me. I can buy this different outfit, a different hat. Just functions like that. As well, there are also going to be skins in it for different types of characters from a lot of indie games, you know, like Shovel Knight and such. All in all, the experience is fairly smooth. I've played through a bunch of levels. I haven't had any hiccups after simply finding something that I've never seen before and then deciding how to circumvent it. From that point forward, it all seems to work out. I fully understand the system. They occasionally throw little curveballs at you with different types of vehicles, different setups, you know, just to break up the monotony. Occasionally, they'll make you go right to left, which really throws you off if you've been going hardcore on the left to right only. Just to see it go right to left, I completely stop looking at certain parts of the screen, and it can screw me up very easily. So they at least throw that in there to mix it up a little bit. I kind of like that. And if that's something that interests you, you can be looking forward to it on May 22nd on both the Switch and Steam. And then shortly after that, they plan on releasing it on the PS4 and the Xbox One. I imagine if you don't really care that much about high score and stuff like that, you might want to avoid this. It seems to have that very specific niche. That's its focus for what it wants to be like the audience that plays it heavily. I think there's going to be plenty of people on the Switch that would like that. Plenty of people across a lot of the systems that would enjoy that. So hopefully this game makes it to their hands. Hopefully this helps you guys find something that maybe you've never seen before. And to the people in the chat, if Runner is your kind of game and you've played it since the beginning and that's kind of your jam, let people know about it in the comments below. I might have missed some things here because it's not my style, and I'm sorry about that, but I mean, it can't be for everyone, right? And if you like what you saw here, don't forget to hit that little thumbs up below. Thanks for watching, and until next time.